So is this problem worth losing an otherwise good employee? One of the first employees I had to fire was out in Arizona. I had a counselor who had a chronic problem with his paperwork. So I'd done all the things you have to do to try to fix that, and nothing changed, so I fired him, and I hired his replacement. She was great with paperwork. Could not connect with another human being if I paid her $1 million a day. And I realized with Stephen had the ability to instill hope in people. That's a unique gift. You can't lose that. And I finally realized I was supervising mental health professionals. If they were really good at their counseling jobs, they always sucked at paperwork. So I finally learned to handle it this way. You've not been given the paperwork, Gene, but that's okay because what you bring to our services is so important. I'm going to work with you today to come up with a system to help you stay on top of your paperwork. It's going to work really good for about a month. And then it'll get stale, and we'll come up with a new system next month, and I'm happy to do that because what you bring is essential to our organization. Is this worth losing an otherwise good employee? And then the other hard question is this person right for this job at this time? And sometimes the answer to that is no. And that's when you need to have one last conversation. There's a business term for this, and some people find it offensive, but I'll throw it out because it's a business term. It's called the Come to Jesus meeting. But I call it a journey together down a long, dark road. So I sit down with the employee and I say, I see us on a journey together down a long, dark road where you're going to continue to underperform and mess up, and I'm going to hound you and micromanage you and make your life miserable, and you'll get disciplined and eventually you'll get fired. I don't want to do that, but that's my responsibility. You just need to know what's ahead. And every once in a while the response I've gotten was, well, I don't want to put up with that, I quit. Happy ending. But it also means we're being really clear with people. Because if you're going to fire people, there are lawyers involved when you see a term like afford to due process. Over on page 21, there are 5 components to due process in firing people. The employee has a right to know what the problem is, specifically. They need to have a chance to defend themselves. They need to know specifically what must change. They need to know the time frame. If they're telling jokes with racial content, what is the time frame for changing that? Immediately. If it's missing deadlines, then I might give them a month of coaching to work on that. And they need to know their job is at risk. They need to know if you don't make these changes, you will be fired. It's only fair that people know this, and then they can make their decisions about whether they're going to make a change.